Well, just being able to get a new contract worked out, just staying at Boise State, what's that mean to you?
Oh, it means everything. I think I've been pretty honest with you all in Bronco Nation. My heart's here. I love this place. I love this community. I love this state. And maybe more importantly, I love our people. I love my staff and our donors. And it was just really cool to see how when something like that happens, guys, and it happens quite a bit in our industry, and there's a lot of change. It's humbling to get have your name out there. But my feet were here, my heart is here. And to be able to go through that, and the number of people that reached out, not just internally with my team, but externally with the people who I've become very close with and developed these relationships, how important it was for them to have me here. And sometimes in these positions, you're hard on yourself and you want to know that you're doing what's right and what's best for everyone. And going through that moment, it was just extremely humbling. And I'm just so grateful. I love Bronco Nation and I love being Bronco.
We haven't seen any of I don't know if anything's actually been signed or not, but what can you tell us in terms of just the years and the commitment and like why it settled where it did?
Yeah, those processes take a while and we're still working through the process. And at some point, I'm transparent. We'll send you what it is. Once you get attorneys involved, and there's a lot of terms and, obviously state board approval and those type of things, but it will happen sooner than later and we'll provide it. I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but, in these roles, and especially for me, becoming an AD was a goal. And then you start thinking about what's next. And when you look at the average lifespan of an AD, to be even considered and presented with something that would keep me here for the long term, that was really special. And that's a testament to campus and obviously their commitment and appreciation of the vision and direction that we have as a department. And I really appreciate how they stepped up. And, obviously as a husband, as a father, I want to take care of my family. And money's never been a driver for me, but you want to be appreciated. And I felt it, and I'm really grateful.
You look at 3.5 years ago, you were borrowing a tie to do an interview.
Yeah.
You make your first trip up here. Since then, what is this place? You said your feet and your heart are here. So why do they want to stay here? What has captured your heart about this place?
Yeah, it first starts with my family. That was a really challenging move for us. We loved Waco, and this wasn't necessarily a job that was really even open. A lot happened at that point in time, if you remember when Hars left. And so getting that call and how it impacted them, and knowing that, my faith's important to me, and to walk through these doors that were opened. And you think that when you first get those opportunities, it's like, who's coming with me? And there were a lot of tears. And to see that transformation from when we first got this job, sight unseen, never been to Idaho, and you move your kids and your wife, how this community has embraced them and the relationships that we've developed over the course of time. And that was important to me. I'm very fortunate. I'm lucky. I'm blessed, to be able to do something I'm very passionate about. And I can't do what I do without my wife and my kids and what she does for our family, because I can't always be there. I have a lot of responsibilities. I'm not complaining about that. That's just what it is. And, to see her go through this transition of, I've been preparing for an AD. She had never been preparing to be the AD's wife, and what that meant for her. And now 3.5 years later, when we have these family type conversations, because I don't make decisions in a silo, and I'm big on head, heart, and gut, and we've talked about that before, sitting down with my family and saying, what do you guys think? And unanimously, we want to be Broncos. And for me, that was just such a relief, because it was so different than when we got here. And that was not anything against Bronco Nation or this place, but you can imagine moving your wife and kids, and they've never been to a place we land. It's snowing. It's just, life comes at you fast. And so that was a big piece of it for me. And then also, I'm a competitor. And guys, the reality is, I believe in what we're building. I believe it. I'm going to sign my name on this dotted line. I've already committed. That's why I'm here. And if I felt like we had reached our ceiling, if I felt like there wasn't more to be had, not for me individually, but for our team and for our community and what, Bronco Nation means to us, maybe that's a different decision, but I'm bullish. I'm bullish on our future. I'm bullish who we are today and who we're going to be tomorrow. And that's a non-negotiable for me. I'm always going to compete. I'm always going to do what I feel is best for this department and how we represent, our community. And I sincerely love our staff, our student athletes, and our supporters. And and that's something that when you look at how the industry's changing, at this point in time, I feel we are well positioned for what's next, and I'm going to continue to fight the fight and do everything I possibly can to get us there, and that's my commitment.
We live in a now world. Transfer portal, coaches, athletes jumping in contracts, executives jumping for the next money job. How difficult is it to be patient?
Extremely. I'm not patient. You guys know that. I want things to happen. Ready, aim, fire. But that's part of my growth as a leader. I've had to embrace that. And sometimes as a leader, you got to embrace the suck. We didn't define the hand we're holding. I didn't have a seat at that table in terms of that hand. But I can guarantee you this: we're going to play it to the best of our ability. And I believe in our team. I believe in what we're doing, and that's something that's important to me. Changes are inevitable, right? That's just reality. But the more uncomfortable you are, the more comfortable you get being uncomfortable, right? And that's something that as we've gone through this, and House and NIL and collectives, and there's 8 other lawsuits that not many are talking about, but some are. It is changing by the day, and whatever we were yesterday, we're different today, and it's going to be different tomorrow. We have to embrace that. My job is to relieve our staff and Bronco Nation of that pressure. We are working on it, and for them to control what they can control, go out to do epic. And I believe we can do epic here, and that's going to be something as we move ahead and look to our future. That is driving us forward.
What's your vision of what epic looks like?
I visioned the day that whatever conference we're in, and I say that because there's always these what if scenarios, and I don't believe realignment is settled at all. Very grateful and happy where we're currently at, but I envision us competing like football has for 14 straight years, if not longer, but I know 14 straight years that we have been picked to win the conference. Why can't we do that in 18 sport programs? That's important to me. I've been, since the day I got here, it's never been football and everyone else. Football is important. I understand that. Men's basketball is important, women's basketball, but we have 18 sport programs, and I am responsible for 350 plus student athletes in Bronco Nation. I want to be a lead in every sport. I want to get to a place that every sport is competing for a championship year in and year out. Some may say that's unrealistic. I don't care. That's what drives us. I'm a competitor, and I believe anything is possible if you put your mind to it and have the right attitude and work ethic, and that's something that our team has. And so when you look ahead, all the naysayers, and that's where you get that devil face from me quite a bit. It's for the vampires. I welcome them, because those are the things I'm thinking about at midnight when I can't sleep, or I'm texting Jay, because he's just gotten off work or whatever. Those are things that I'm thinking about. All right, they say we can't do it. How can we make that happen? And that's going to be a constant as long as I'm the leader of this department. We can find a way. There's always a solution. Always. There's never not a solution. It's how hard are you willing to work for it? And we can do that and create something epic. And that includes creating a sustainable model for what's next for this industry. We can do that. There are things that we have irons in the fire that we're working on right now that we can't say publicly yet because there's so many moving pieces and no one's given me a template to follow. We're a copy and paste industry. But at the end of the day, there is a solution. And while everyone else is crying over the spilt milk, we're gonna buy a new cow. And we're gonna figure out how to do this. And that's my commitment.
You have a new contract, you're committed here now. So you're kind of in a safe place, and you've always said that...
I don't know about that, Prater.
Well, fairly true. You always said you're always going to be willing to gamble on yourself, though. So ultimately, This might be the one time you can answer this question. What is your career goal? Where do you want to be 20 years from now?
Boise State. Let's go, State.
Yeah.
Answer, Mike.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Honestly,
10 out of 10. All right, I'm out here. Love you guys.
Thanks, Vince. It's an interesting question. My wife and I have talked about that. I'm goal oriented, and when I set out on this path many years ago, over 20 years ago now, it was 3 years move up and on, and I wanted to be the youngest AD and all these goals that I had, and some I accomplished, some I didn't, but ultimately I wanted to be an AD. I wanted to be an AD at a place that it mattered. I wanted to be an AD that we could compete for championships, that was relevant, right, that had a brand, which is the hardest thing to build, and I'm so grateful for what I inherited here. I've had very little to do with that other than trying to elevate it. But that's Gene and Coach Pete and all the great Broncos that we've fortunately have had here. This was my dream job. I said it when I got here. My goal was never to be a Power 4 AD. Can things change? Can life happens, whatever. I have 3 kids, a wife, things change. But right now I'm where my feet are. And I believe in this place, and I'm a Bronco, and I want to do epic, and I think I can do all of that here. The money's never necessarily been a driver for me, and that's easy for me to say. I understand that I'm probably a 1%er, and that's uncomfortable for me. That was really uncomfortable going through this process. I have a lot of staff members that deserve a lot more than they're getting. I have coaches that deserve a lot more than they're getting. I understand the pressure that adds. But you're right, I'm always going to bet on myself, and I'm going to give it to God, and I'm going to just walk through the doors that He opens, and that's my prayer always. And right now, it's here. I'm a Bronco, and we got a lot of work to do.
You mentioned it was nice to hear that other coaches and folks want you here. I mean, I heard that some of them went to the highest level to try to convince folks that you're the right person, that you needed to be here, and to make that happen. I mean, what does that say that the coaches were so behind, and so vocal publicly and privately that this needed to happen?
Yeah. I appreciate the question, and you guys know I'm an emotional person. What we're navigating is challenging, and sometimes you forget, the work that you're doing and how much it means to people. And especially for someone like me, guys, where I hold myself to an extremely high standard, probably unrealistic, and I'm extremely hard on myself, and I have great teammates, some sitting back and behind you guys that are helping me with that. When you go through a process like that, and the amount of pressure it adds, and just the uncomfortableness, fighting for yourself, right? And I say fighting, it's not negative or dramatic. I'm not trying to be that. But sometimes you don't know the impact you're having until you go through something like that. And that was really powerful for me. It's something I needed. This job is hard. It drains you, and it's always what's next. It's 24/7. There is no, days off. That's just the reality. And I've chosen that. No one's making me do this. But when you have people that you feel good about and you have a relationship with, but when you have the number of people that reached out to me, and the number of people, whether they talk to others or it was just really powerful for me to see at that moment, and considering what we're navigating and the uncomfortableness of this industry and what that looks like, and it means a lot to me. I'm big on team. I'm big on our people. They are our greatest asset. I get way too much credit. I wear the hat. I understand what comes along with being an AD, but I can't do this alone, and I have a lot of people that are pulling the rope with me. And that transition from when I first arrived to what we are today, I'm really proud of that, and more so not because of anything that I deserve in this process, but more so because of them. They embraced it, and sometimes I've told you guys, you got to believe more than others at moments, and that switched. And then to see it, get to a place with, almost every person in the department, and many of our donors, and Bronco Nation, the social media, because obviously, I'm very active. It was emotional for me. It meant a lot. So I'm grateful.
A big part of you coming here originally was for fundraising efforts. I think your record speaks for itself these last few years.
Yeah.
Signing this new contract, how do you keep that momentum going forward now?
Yeah, we just announced another $1 million yesterday, I think. We're not going to stop. A big part of that are the relationships that we have, and there's still a lot of low-hanging fruit in this community, and that's our lifeblood, and we're going to continue to do that. We have to. We have no other choice, and that makes it easy. Asking for money is not easy. It's uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, we need it to continue to invest in our staff, our student athletes, and our supporters, and tie into the vision that we have, as we move forward. But it's not just the fundraising; it's ticket sales. It's record across record, and now we're breaking our own records. It's academics, and the records we broke. This was the first year going into the summer that all scholarship student athletes across the department did not need a credit this summer to be eligible this fall. That's never happened here. We are not going to stop. We are going to set the bar, reset it, and our goal is to not necessarily break records. That's not why we're in it. But when we're doing that, we're elevating this program to something epic. And that is what we're trying to do across the board. And so there are a lot of pieces to this. It's MMR, it's creating a more sustainable model, and understanding, yeah, I know that you know, appropriated funds are challenging and whatever else, but this is the hand, and we got to find solutions. And so it's really opened up our creativity, and I always think back to Gene and what he was thinking when he turned this field blue. You know, we have to live out innovation in action, and that means we got to curiously question, and there are going to be opportunities, and we may be the first because we are a copy and paste industry. A lot of this, everyone's trying to figure out what they're doing. We can live in that level of risk because I know what it looks like if we don't do anything. And we're going to continue to do that, and it's going to tie into fundraising, it's going to tie into revenue gen in general, it's going to tie into special events in this facility. There's a lot more there that we're going to be able to funnel back into our people and what's most important to us.
Yeah, just looking at that innovation for your future, what do fans have something to be excited for? We've got the renovation here in the stadium, North Ends. I guess what's in your plans for the next few years?
Yeah, well, obviously North End Zone, and every project, it's not, it's not just for one specific reason, right? Yeah, the North End Zone helps us with revenue. It also helps us with relieving pressure off the east side of the stadium. It also helps us creating a student athlete space that we can serve all 18 sport programs if and when. It helps us create a space that we can drive revenue in terms of outside events and alumni events and things with advancement and unbridled, and so there are other projects like that. We have to do something with Extra Mile. Leon and staff and Gordy, they're doing a tremendous job. I'm really looking forward to this season, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we only have 4 seats. We have to create more premium space. We have to create a club space. Not necessarily suites. I'm not big on suites as much, but loge boxes and those type of things that you're seeing in the North End Zone facility. And so that's a big project. East side is obviously still there. I hear Bronco Nation in terms of the east side and the bathrooms. The reality is our stadium was pieced together like mini stadiums, and that's an opportunity for us. Hopefully the North End Zone helps, and you're going to see all these things domino. And a lot depends on the success on the field. And I believe in who we have. I believe in our student athletes, and I know that we can achieve that. One of our goals early on was to create the infrastructure in place that when we had the success that we would be prepared for it. And you see that now. There's a method to the madness when we added ticket sales and ticket ops and created a new BA space and major gift team and so on and so forth, because when that day comes, and it will, we are going to be prepared for it, and we cannot do what we've done in the past. We can't just unlock the gates and hope people show up, and we have to be intentional. And so you're going to see additional fan experience updates. Obviously the sound system, which is going up right now, which is huge. We'll keep this on the roof just in case like the sound stresses me out. It's something you can't lose during a game, and so we have some time, but we're close to finish on that. We're going to continue to look at signage opportunities, other assets, when you look at jersey patches and things on the field that can help us drive that model. And then we have things that probably don't get enough publicity, but we just went through the most major locker room renovation in our history. Beach volleyball didn't have their own locker room. Now they do. Women's golf didn't have their own locker room. Now they do. Now there's lounges. Boaz is completely different, and that's something you guys probably need to go see. Everything that you're seeing from a brand perspective, the logo on the back of the video board, the logos at Boaz, that ties into the brand assessment we did. You plan the work, you work the plan. Sometimes we overcomplicate things, plan the work the plan, and that's what we're doing. And now you're seeing some of that starting to come to fruition, and I'm grateful. So there's more ahead, but those are just a few of the things.
Do you think your stability is tied into fundraising? Like, did you get a lot of questions this summer when you were kind of out there in this gray area, at least publicly? And since the public announcement of the new contract, have you noticed any kind of uptick in fundraising?
Yeah, I mean, in general, we're always pushing, and so that's something that was going to be natural. I think there was probably quite a few donors, Bronco Nation, that felt like I was here just to get the next, and that's not who I am. And so we've never stopped, and we keep going. But I think it gave us some street cred of okay. Like he actually does like this place. He's not just saying it, he wants to be here, and he wants to lead the Broncos, and so that is helping us. And you look at Unbridled and what our fundraising numbers are in 3 consecutive years, and if anything, I probably, and it's more personal because I'm a competitor. I want to be known as an overall good AD, and that means it's not just fundraising. It's how we serve our student athletes. It's Bronco life. It's health and wellness. It's academics. But I know I come from that background, and we've had a lot of success in it, and I'm grateful because it's allowed us to invest in those areas that mean a lot to me.
You mentioned the improvements you want to make to Extra Mile, and I'm sure it's just in the beginning of the planning stage, but do you envision kind of a project kind of on the scale that you're doing the north end zone for that? Or?
I do. It ties back into the playbook for success. There's some moving pieces to it, right? Currently, it's a university facility, unlike Albertsons, where it's athletics. You have to navigate quite a few things, but yeah, I think that it would be similar. But I also believe we can go out and figure out creative ways to be able to fund that. I think it would benefit us in a number of ways, especially as we continue to invest into men's and women's basketball, gymnastics, and then even in the future, which I probably should have said when you asked this question, starting to do volleyball matches in Extra Mile. We need to create a better experience. We need to elevate our game, and there's a lot that goes into that. But when you look at having a club space and more premium options, now all of a sudden you're monetizing your Olympic sport programs a little bit differently too. You're not going to make ever as much as you're maybe making on men's basketball and football, but any dollar we make, especially in this new age of revenue share and whatever else, is going to benefit us. And so I do see it being like the north end zone, and I do see it in our future. It's like most things, and you guys know about the north end zone. We've been honest. There are a lot of moving pieces. It's not like I just make a decision and we put shovel on ground the next day. We want to follow processes. We want to do what's right. There's a fundraising component to this, and that's something Cody and our collective team is continuing to work on.
The coaches' offices and like the renovate, is that part of a smaller plan that can be done sooner, or is that
For football?
No, for basketball. Like there's the plan with the coaches' offices,
So
moving that over there and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're working on some different options. The Oxygen space is challenging. It's used for a lot of the outside events like concerts, and they stage a lot of stuff in there. And so trying to create a space that is specific to men's and women's basketball among other sports that would be able to utilize it, we're looking at options, but that is the ultimate goal. We need more office space in the varsity center. We've grown our staff significantly. I have people sharing closets, and I'm grateful because they don't complain and stuff, but we need to figure out solutions to that, and so the more I can get our coaches into their own facilities and understanding, I want everyone around us. But it's like Boaz. I would love to move that over here. It's just timing is everything, and that's still on the docket. But we couldn't wait any longer, and we needed to do something out there. And at some point, maybe we're tearing that whole thing down and we're moving them over. But those are the things that are a little challenging to think about now because we're still trying to navigate house and whatever that's going to become. But I see that in our future, that we're still in line with our playbook for success, and we're not going to stop until it's done.
And just to clarify, when you were talking about when you took the job here, did I hear you right? You said you took the job sight completely unseen? Or?
Yeah, it was during COVID, and my interviews, I was in Illinois with my wife's family, and I'd never been to Idaho. My family had never been to Idaho. So they had chosen that path of not flying candidates in, and so it was all on Zoom and Google. So, the first time we landed was less than 24 hours before I did my first press conference ever. And we landed, it was snowing, and my wife was crying. It was, life comes at you fast, but ultimately, a year later, it's like, and I had people that I trust in the industry, people, like Mark Coyle and other people that have been connected here that said, JD, your family's gonna love this, and that was a big part of it. And it didn't take long for us to recognize what they were talking about. This place is special.
You mentioned soccer starting tonight, and just what is the other sports going on? What is some of the outlook for some of them, your excitement level around the fall sports?
Yeah, I'm excited. I know, I believe we have Portland State tonight at 7, and Under the Lights, which is really cool, and a project we finished. Soccer, cross country, volleyball, and then obviously football are all starting. Having Pat as the new head coach, I'm excited to see him, and so far he's done an amazing job, the last 2 months. Sean has been consistent, and we have one of the best players in the country, and definitely in our conference. And so, the beginning of the seasons is my favorite time because there's hope, and hope is powerful. And, I believe we can always win. It takes a lot, and winning's hard, and that's not to add pressure on our coaches, but I believe they've done everything they can in the offseason. They've recruited well. Plan the work the plan. Now we got to go out and show it, and that gives me a lot of hope this season for all the sports starting.
Yep.